The San Jose Sharks trade for Jake Walman, and the Bob father, Bob McKenzie, puts out his final draft ranking. So big show today.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at The Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL Network. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, now's the perfect time to get in. You'll follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And the Sharks making a massive trade today, acquiring Jake Walman from the Detroit Red Wings and a second-round pick. So we're going to break down that. Plus, we're going to look at Bob McKenzie's list. So we're going to see how he has the top 20 ranked, with the Sharks having number 1 and number 14, and then look at some of the potential targets for the Sharks when it comes to 33, 42, and now 53. Mike Grier, Big Money Mike, with 5 picks in the top 53 of this draft. So before we get to all that, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Mike Grier literally asked yesterday or on Monday, Mike Grier, are you going to try to find a puck-moving defenseman? And what does he do? Oh, what a trade. Love this trade. So, the Sharks get defenseman Jake Walman, who we'll talk about here a little bit more in a second. They also get a 2022 second-round pick, number 53 overall. And all they had to do was give away everyone's favorite player, future consideration. So if you don't know what that means, it means nothing. The Sharks gave up nothing for Jake Walman and a 2020 for second-round pick. So this was 100% a cap dump by the Detroit Red Wings, moving off a player, trying to move his contract, and it's paving the way for them to be able to do something else later on. But what I love about this is you're not just getting like an asset that, one, you're getting a second round pick, which is a very valuable asset. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But Jake Walman's good, legitimately good. You're not just getting some spare part. This isn't like Mike Hoffman, who's just going to be here to kind of ride out the rest of the year type of thing. Walman's good, and he solves one of the biggest needs for the Sharks. So let's dig into kind of Jake Walman and what he actually brings to San Jose. So Walman's 6'1", 218 pounds, got 2 years left on his deal at $3.4 million with a 10-team no trade clause. It sounds like the Sharks weren't on his 10 team because there was no he waived it. There was none of that reporting with it. He was happy or not happy, but the Sharks were not on his 10-team no trade. We don't know if maybe he had to update it on the first. There's some stuff, we don't know what happens with the potential update, but he's in San Jose. But 10-team no trade, so that gives you, not a math guy, but 21 other teams that he could be potentially traded to without any issues. Last year, he played 63 games, had 12 goals, 9 assists with 108 shots on goal. Average time on ice was 1946. Corsi for 45.45. Goals for 47.44. And with Wallman, the thing you have to keep in context with him is his deployment. He was partnered with Maurice Seider, who's, of course, won the Calder a couple years ago, well on his way to being an outstanding defenseman. Those guys, when I say they get a rough deployment, it is brutal. So looking at the player usage chart from Dauber Hockey, Mo Seider and Jake Walman basically got no offensive zone starts and were facing some of the toughest lineup or toughest matchups in the NHL. Just absolutely like brutal deployment. So, something just kind of keep in mind, especially when we look at like kind of the rest of his zone charts and all this other stuff. He is kind of put behind the eight ball constantly in favor of trying to get maybe like Simon Edvinsson good zone starts. Shane Gostisbehere got a bunch of good zone starts, like trying to get some of those guys better zone starts. Wallman got a rough deployment. So looking at his chart from Evolving Hockey, 27th percentile player, kind of playing between second pairing and first pairing minutes, 71st percentile offensively, fourth percentile defensively. But again, keep in mind, dude was getting tough deployment. So played some kind of second unit power play, played a ton of shorthanded minutes as well. Would expect him to be, as of right now, at least until Macklin is ready to take over the role, I would expect Wallman to be the quarterback one on the power play right now. Looking at his kind of zone exit, so Corey Schneider from all three zones does a great job with this. And it's a little bit kind of all over the map, but the things that he does well are, one, zone entries. Wallman's zone entries, controlled zone entries, getting the puck in per 60. Like, it doesn't do it often, but when he does, he's really good at it. Defensive zone touches per 60, retrievals per 60. Like, he does a really good job of just getting the puck out of the zone. Struggles with it sometimes, but I think that's also with, again, looking at the deployment and kind of where he finished up, or like where he was starting. But Wallman is a good puck mover, and that is something the Sharks really need more of. And I think Wallman is going to help solve that problem for the Sharks. Does offensively, we'll see here. I think, again, hopefully with a little bit better deployment with San Jose, you can potentially see that go up. But I think Wallman helps to solve one of your biggest issues with just getting the puck out of the zone time, kind of shift by shift. So, and then looking at his JFresh card, so 68th percentile WAR, so that's wins above replacement, kind of determining your impact and stuff. Even strength offense, 65th percentile. Even strength defense, 58th percentile. Finishing 85 percentile goals, 99 percentile. Maybe not as much with the first assist, but again, that competition, 100%, like just facing brutal competition night in and night out. So I'm super stoked for this trade. You got, not only did you get like a player who's like very useful to you and can hold down, kind of be a bit of a bridge player while you wait for, like while Macklin gets ready, Henry Thrun continues his development, Ty Emberson, like while some of these young guys kind of, continue their development. You also got a second round pick out of it, and gave up literally nothing, like nothing. This is the end of this. Like the Sharks. Maybe the Sharks owe the Red Wings a favor somewhere. Maybe this is kind of, like how the Red Wings, the Rangers owe the Sharks a favor. Whatever it is, and we'll see what happens with the Red Wings and kind of what their plan is for this. But like, I had a lot of people like, what's the catch? Like, there isn't. The Red Wings are trying to clear cap to make a big splash move, which is what they're trying to do, as they're one of those teams that kind of needs to start winning now. So I expect them to make a big splash move, whether it's at the draft or free agency or whatever it is. But for Grier, you got a guy who's 2 more years at a very reasonable cost at $3.4 million. You're still $6 million away from hitting the cap floor, so you're plenty of money. And you potentially solved one of your biggest needs in finding a puck-moving defenseman. I still think you should be active in free agency to try to find another one. And then that kind of really sets you up, I think, for future success. But getting a guy like Wallman, who's 28, he doesn't turn 29 till I think it's February. So you have him through his age 29, age 30 season. Like, this is a great move by Mike Grier. Just cleaning up and then adding another asset that gives you 3 picks in the second round. So if you really do want to try to move up into the top 10, you have all the ammunition in the world right here with 3 second-round picks. Or if you want to go be aggressive and try to get a young player who maybe isn't happy with where they're at, looking at you, Winnipeg, it just gives you more assets to be flexible and spend those to get NHL or soon to be NHL players, move up in the draft. Or if you want to maybe go forward, and we'll talk about this strategy here in a little bit, and then just shotgun approach the defensive by just picking 3 defensemen in those kind of bunch of 20 picks there and just see which one pans out. You could do that as well. So love this move. Absolute, like I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop here, but just an absolute killer move by Big Money Mike. So we'll look at now how Mike Grier is going to be able to spend these picks by looking at the draft. So we're going to look at first at Bob McKenzie's top 20 list, see who the Sharks can potentially target. Of course, we know Macklin Celebrini is number 1, but of course, looking at the number 14 pick, kind of rounding out the top 20. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. And drive and patience, the formula for winning championships. This is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. So Bob McKenzie released his final draft rankings list. So if you're new to the draft or don't know who Bob McKenzie is, or you just want a nice refresher, Bob McKenzie, basically the way he generates his lists is he talks to a bunch of NHL scouts and has them rank, and then he compiles all that and gets a ranking from there. So this ranking, the reason why this one's so important is because you're getting input from NHL scouts and kind of getting where their heads are at. So that's kind of why it's such a huge deal. It's not just, our friends like Tony Ferrari and, Hattie and Sebastian and everybody else who's been on the podcast. They do a great job, making their lists, and they put in a lot of work. But with Bob McKenzie, though, you're getting actual NHL scouts who are going to be in this process and making the draft picks here this week. So that's kind of why this list is such an important list, because it gives you a true sense of where they kind of project these guys to go. So let's start by looking at the top 20 here. So of course, if you're watching on YouTube, I kind of highlighted the Sharks picks so you can kind of see who would be, if it went chalk to McKenzie's list, kind of who would be there. So number 1, of course, is Macklin Celebrini. No brainer. We all know this. It's Macklin Celebrini. It's basically now just what number is Macklin Celebrini going to wear. So number 2 is Ivan Demidov, which is interesting, right? Because of course, it feels like it's going to be probably it's Demidov or Levshinov, I think, is for the kind of the picks for Chicago. But, of course, we know about Matvei Michkov. Everyone was worried about him. Look how that turned out, right? He's coming over. He got out of his contract earlier, and he's coming over to play in the NHL this year for the Flyers. Like, we overblow that Russian factor. So if Demidov and Bedard together is ridiculously scary. So but Leshinov, who is the top ranking defenseman, Anton Silyev, the very big Russian defenseman, is at number 4. Katie Lindstrom at number 5. Sam Dickinson, Zeev Bulyam at 7. Zane Perek at 8. Kasta Helenius at 9. And Tej Iginla at 10. I know we've seen a lot of mock drafts with Iginla up in that 4-5 area. We'll also see what what Columbus actually does. They don't really need a defenseman, right? They've invested a lot in the defense recently, and I still think they'll probably go forward there. So again, it's not a mock draft; it's just rankings here, kind of how he ranks them. So Iginla kind of being at 10, just something to keep an eye on there, especially if Demidov does go early at 2. Does Lindstrom go number 4? And then kind of what happens with Montreal? Or is Montreal maybe, because they've got a few defensemen as well. They're kind of an interesting candidate of what they do if the board kind of breaks one way or another. So next, 11 through 20, Beckett Seneca, of course, the late riser, up at number 11. Berkeley Catton, number 12, who's super skilled, little small. Carter Yakimchuk at number 13. So if you're looking for a defenseman, Yakimchuk feels like the last guy of that top 6 kind of tier. Number 14, Cole Iserman. 15, Trevor Conley. 16, Adam Yurchek. 17, Michael Brandseg Nygaard. 18, Liam Greentree. 19, Jet Luchenko. And 20, Stian Solberg. So that is kind of rounding out the top 20 right there. I know Conley Bob McKenzie mentioned in this article. A lot of teams just don't have Conley on their board because of the red flags from his past. I don't foresee the Sharks picking Conley just because of, right, we hear that character compete. Conley definitely has the compete part, but the character, I don't know if maybe that fits into what Mike Grier is trying to build right now. So, I don't foresee the Sharks being in on Conley. I could see a team, I've said before, like Vegas, who just kind of doesn't really care. But when you only have one pick, right? You traded last year's pick to the Sharks. You have your pick this year. You don't have a pick next year. You don't have a pick the following year. I could see them taking a swing on a guy like Conley, who would, if he hits, he's going to be really good. And they don't really care about the PR backlash because they just are very cutthroat with that type, with just the way they operate. So your check is interesting because of, the injury, right? And there's a lot of stuff that he still needs to work out. But if he hits, he's potentially could be one of the best defensemen in this class. I could see maybe a guy like Nygaard as well for the Sharks, with his just all around game and how he's just kind of a nice like line filler of whatever you need. Like, cool, I can do that for you. Jet Luchenko, we talked about recently. Liam Greentree. Greentree is kind of like in the Seneca mold where, kind of big guy who's kind of figuring things out, but there's a ton of potential there. And Solberg, who I know a lot of Sharks fans are kind of penciling as well. I'm like, I see the Solberg pick. I could envision why. I worry about the offensive upside, and I know people are gonna be like, well, he's really good at defense, but when you're picking this high, I want a guy who can do both, if that's too much to ask. So that's kind of why I'm a little worried about Solberg. So, but for Iserman, the guy who Bob McKenzie currently has in that number 14 slot, if you're picking Macklin Celebrini, who you feel you're going to hit a home run with, right? Cole Iserman gives you a guy like Iserman where there's definitely a path for him to be awesome. and there's definitely a path for him to never kind of play meaningful NHL games. So you could see why a swing there, because you have a little bit of room for error, especially with Celebrini, and then with potentially 3 second-round picks. Yzerman, who has the best shot in the class, but needs to work out on everything else in this game. And if he's able to do that, you could be, like looking at just an absolute sniper to pair with Macklin Celebrini, who can kind of create offense and then just get it over to Yzerman, who those two are really good friends. And Yzerman going into this year was considered the second best player in the draft before kind of this year happened. He still scored a bajillion points. And I think spending time in college, which he's going to do next year, is going to be the best thing for his game. So you could really talk me into Colt Yzerman at 14 and just be like, yeah, we're good. Our offense is just going to be really good with Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith down the middle. So, and then Yzerman on one of the wings. You could put Yzerman on one wing, and then you could have Casper Haltonen on another wing. Oh man, that's really fun. So we'll get here into the, kind of looking at the players around the Sharks picks in the second round, and kind of get to know some of these guys and get to know kind of the guys that Bob McKenzie kind of has, I don't want to say mocks, but just has in those slots. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. If you want to go get tickets for concert, you want to go catch a baseball game, or whatever you're doing this summer, you need to check out Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices with the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, they have the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I love that you can actually see what the view from your seats are going to look like with Game Time. Nothing worse than getting to an event and realizing my seats stink. Actually, the only thing worse is when you go to purchase your seats and then you get hit with a bunch of fees. With Game Time's all-in pricing, you know exactly what you're going to pay when you go to check out. No surprises, no hidden fees, none of that stuff. So check out Game Time to take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's get into some targets, I guess we'll call it, for the Sharks at 33, 42, and 53 here. So at 30, so kind of looking at the kind of the bunch here, 29 through 36, you have Dominic Badinka, who I really, really like. I think he kind of fits what the Sharks are trying to build. Andrew Basha, Ryder Ritchie, Sam O'Reilly, Charlie Ehrlich. Ehrlich is a big 6'3" defenseman. Maybe not known as much for his offensive game, but he definitely has the transition ability and getting that puck out of the zone. I know he's ranked a little bit higher in evolving hockey, or not evolving hockey, sorry, elite prospects. Great skater. Is able to shut things down defensively, nonstop motor, and kind of that shutdown potential defender there. So he's a guy who kind of fits the Mike Grier build, especially being 6'3". He's already basically 200 pounds, right-handed. And I think that would be somebody that San Jose would be very interested in at 33 if he gets there. You have a couple Russians here in Igor Surin, Nikita Artemov, and then Dean Letourneau, who I'm terrible at pronouncing his last name. So again, if you kind of go forward, there's a huge pocket of defensemen here in the kind of the beginning of the second round where you can kind of, just pick a bunch of them and see who really pans out for you. So I do really like Ehrlich. I think he fits that mold. Now, a lot of these guys in this era this range, I guess, really fit what I think Mike Grier is looking for in that big, physical, tough to play against a type of mold. If Elik's there, it's gonna be, yeah. I think he's somebody that San Jose would definitely look hard at. So next kind of group, so between 37 and 44, Matt Fagreeding, Jesse Pulkinen, excuse me, who's an overager, big dude. He's like 6'6", I think, or something like that. Maxim Massé from the Q, probably the high. I think he's the highest ranked Q guy. Lucas Peterson, who's they have as the highest ranked Swede. Alphonse Frey, who I know the analytics darling that we're all potentially interested in. And then Leo Solin Wallness, who they would be in that 42 slot. Teddy Stiga, who I absolutely love. And if he's there on the board, he just, again, kind of Gavin Brindley 2.0 feel to him, where he's just like a pest. And he's just like a try-hard guy, but I think he's one of those, if he's on your team, you love him, and if you have to play against him, you freaking hate that dude. And then Linus Eriksson, who as well. So for Leo Solin Wallness, I know he's a little bit lower ranked on Elite Prospects guide. So he's also kind of fits to what the Sharks is. He's more of a transition guy, like not as big, 6'1", 183, left-handed. Sound puck distributor and end zone defender with projectable NHL caliber tools, reliable and consistent is kind of their elevator pitch. The offensive game isn't as what you would expect, kind of, especially seeing the tools is kind of what they say. But he's very good at getting the puck moving and kind of getting that transition going, which again, I think is something that the Sharks are continually looking to add those type of pieces. Is how do you play in the neutral zone, et cetera, et cetera. So Alphonse Frey, it's good to see. We talked to Will was it last week or whatever, and there was talk of him potentially going like third round. Alphonse Frey is going to be right. Looks like he's going to be right in the kind of strike zone for the Sharks here, and especially if they go forward. I would 100% take a swing on Alphonse Frey because that dude he sounds like he'll be that guy where we're just like, how did he fall type of guy? So, or how did he make it? How was he available in the second round? So, and yeah, can play defense and provide offense as well. And that's good to see he's in that strike zone there. So, and then looking at the final kind of guys here, Matvei Shurinev, Russian, Adam Kleber, Aaron Kivari, Spencer Gill, Ben Dadford, Gabriel Eliasson, Leon Mugli, and Jacob Patagia. Man, I screwed up those. My bad. Spencer Gill, who again is in that 53 slot. So Q defender, physical, toolsy type of guy. Gonna need gonna need some time. But again, that 6'3" mold of him, who you give him some time, you let him kind of stay over in the queue. He's on a really good team for kind of developing players. A physical, imposing defenseman who flashes impressive playmaking and scoring abilities with every other game. He's in the best development for players of his type in the QMJHL. He's on a good team that's kind of knows what to do with these rangy, toolsy guys. So definitely, don't expect him to make an impact right away, but you're going to kind of take the shotgun approach of it and just, pick a bunch of them. That's the type of pick where you let him marinate. There's no rush for him. He doesn't need to, and then you just kind of see what happens in the next couple of seasons. So the Aaron Kavarheri, finish. He's an interesting guy because of the injury, kind of like Juracek, where he missed so much time this year, where it was hard to kind of get a judge on him, and he was considered to be a potential first-round talent. So if you, again, kind of with so many picks, you can take a swing on a guy like that and just let him marinate and then see if he's turns in, kind of hits his upside, you could be looking at a potential steal there. So, yeah, I mean, the Sharks have so much flexibility here now with 5 picks in the first 53, where they want to move up, they can do that. If they want to trade back, they can do that as well. If they want to be aggressive and go get NHL caliber players, like if they want to trade the picks for NHL players, you can do that. Young NHL players, don't go trading for like old dudes, but like you have so much flexibility after this Wallman trade, and just more ammo to go do something else. If you want to go have 2 top 10 picks, trade 2 of those second round picks up and then do that. Or if you want to use one of those second round picks and move back and later in the second round, early third round, because maybe you feel like you got a pocket of players there that you really like, and then you can get some more assets. Like Mike Grier, the world is Mike Grier's oyster right now, and we're just living in it because he can do whatever he wants right now with the stuff that he has. Plus, you're getting Macklin Celebrini. Like I cannot emphasize how good Macklin Celebrini is going to be. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll continue with more draft stuff. See if we have any moves or announcements. I'm traveling tomorrow to Vegas, so tomorrow's show will be from Vegas. In my hotel room there, but so if anything happens while I'm on the plane or whatever, like I'm all Sharks basically for the next couple of days here. So make sure you follow along on YouTube. We're going to have plenty of good content coming on there, especially draft day. We'll have like instant reactions. We have a bunch of good stuff coming over there. So make sure you follow along on YouTube. Getting really close. I think I'm like 100 subscribers away from 3,000. So you haven't subscribed, now's the perfect time to get in on that. Because again, bunch of stuff coming out over there on YouTube. Of course, you can listen to the podcast wherever you want, wherever you get podcasts. We'll have breakdowns and reactions as well on your podcast feed. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Especially on Instagram, we'll have plenty of stuff, behind the scenes stuff, pictures from the draft, all that fun stuff will be up on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at myfryhole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.